Mueller is flailing after Putin just called his bluff. The world watched as President Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, Finland for a historic summit this week. It was very productive but was overshadowed by a vulturistic media at the end of the meeting in a confrontational presser. Nevertheless, they discussed many incredibly important issues. Diplomacy with Russia is necessary unless we want a nuclear war, so it is imperative that we find a way to coexist. President Trump is intent on just that. The two world leaders discussed trade, Iran, Syria, North Korea, election meddling, military issues and numerous other topics. During the press conference that followed the 2-hour one-on-one private meeting between Trump and Putin, the geopolitical chess master turned the tables on Robert Mueller and called his bluff. Putin offered to help interrogate the suspected individuals who were indicted for meddling in our 2016 election. He said that Mueller could bring his evidence to Russia, but that they should get to interrogate Mueller and his team as well since they are using cooked-up evidence such as the dossier against President Trump. This came up after Trump nailed Mueller for his witch hunt. Putin backed Mueller into a corner and made him look bad. Of course, it will never happen. Neither country is going to give up their non-official cover list. But I wish I could have seen Mueller's face when Putin made the offer. President Trump indicated he thought the offer was very interesting. I'm sure he did, as he knows that Mueller would never be allowed to do such a thing. There is virtually no chance those 12 GRU agents will ever stand trial here in the US. In fact, this morning the media is reporting that it was President Trump himself who directed that the indictments be announced by Rosenstein when they were during his meeting with the Brits. I was surprised by that, but Trump is sly like a fox and obviously had reasons for doing such a thing. From Fox News. The summit came just days after the Justice Department announced the indictments of a dozen Russian intelligence operatives for allegedly hacking Democratic targets in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Putin has previously told Trump that Russia did not meddle in the 2016 presidential election. He repeated those denials Monday. And when asked whether he would extradite the 12 Russians allegedly involved, Putin instead detailed a plan, which Trump called an incredible offer. Putin offered to question the 12 indicted for meddling in the election, and added that Mueller's team of investigators could be present for questioning, if U.S. officials would reciprocate. He suggested this would mean Russian agents could be present for questioning U.S. officers of interest to them. Our relationship with Russia has been deteriorating over the last few decades. Our leaders were too weak to ever really stand up to the Russian bear. But President Trump has slapped them with sanctions, expelled their diplomats, rallied NATO to stand tougher against them, and the list goes on. This meeting was to begin strengthening U.S.-Russian relations, which Trump said has never been worse than it is now despite the push from Democrats and some Republicans back home in the U.S. to cancel the summit. And despite that horrible presser, it is obvious the meeting was a success, much to the chagrin of those on the left. Instead, they want to try Trump for treason and impeach him. It's ridiculous and treasonous in itself. President Trump claims the relationship between America and Russia has changed. We will never trust them and they will never be an ally, but we can find a way to work with them. Trump said he would not make decisions on foreign policy in a futile effort to appease partisan critics, the media or Democrats who want to resist and obstruct. Nor should he. I hope Mueller was listening because he was at the top of the list there. At one point, Putin handed Trump a soccer ball and said, "The ball is now in your court." Yeah. It was cheesy, but it's better than a fake reset button that is worded wrong in Russian. And notice it was Putin giving it to Trump, not the other way around. The ball is in our court and now we must decide on a course forward. The joint press conference was held minutes after the historic summit between the two leaders Monday. They later came together again in an expanded meeting with key advisors. Trump, as the private meeting began earlier Monday, said the two would have a lot of good things to talk about, from trade to missile defense to China. A host of other issues, from Russia election meddling to the annexation of Crimea to Syria, were also expected to come up. "I think we will end up having an extraordinary relationship," Trump said, sitting next to Putin earlier at the presidential palace in Helsinki. Getting along with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing. True, and the left hates it. I don't like Putin or trust him, but our leaders have to work together or destroy each other. Putin put Mueller on the spot and there has been no response from him. I don't expect one. Mueller is flailing after the long-distance challenge. But it's not just Putin who has him on edge, it's the fact that there is no collusion to be found in the Russia investigation and instead he's going after process crimes on people who were in Trump's orbit early on. Mueller will nail them for other crimes which have nothing to do with the investigation. It shouldn't be allowed and has gone on far too long. If Putin ever did get to interrogate Mueller and his team,